All right, good morning, everybody. Boker Tov. You can pass these around. We're learning in the month. We're still in Tishrei. We're still in Tishrei, Baruch Hashem, and we're learning Leilui Nishmas Bas Yefega Bas Yisrael, Levi ben Yosef, and for the refuah shlema of Aliza Chana bat Naomi. Tach Sharei Shamayim, gates of Shamayim should open. Mishbi refuah shlema. Okay, we are back with our very special learning about parenting for all ages, any age, once you're a mother, once you're a father, you're always a mother or a father, as you know. It doesn't matter what the ages are, because we're always Baruch Hashem. Once that title happens, it lasts forever, Bezrat Hashem, and also should be an Eit Ratzon for those that. It should happen to them, Bezrat Hashem, that they should have the zchut. And also, I think later on we'll be seeing also that this also has to do with the neshamas that thank you so much, that come in contact with their parents through adoption also, through how it's a whole sugya bifnei atzmo. But there's so much here to unpack and unwind, and I want to quickly give a little bit of a bekitzer of what we were learning before the Yom Tovim, because it seems like it's centuries ago. It seems like a long, long time ago. And what we were speaking about is something that I know that many questions came up from the learning that we've been doing until now, because this parsha of parenting doesn't have one formula. And that's very important to remember. There's not a formula here. We're not developing necessarily a formula that says, this works. As long as you're a better person, this works. Right? That's not the mahalach either. But what we are trying to do is to give it our best shot. Is to give this world of parenting our best shot by knowing who our children are. But by, like most things that are very important, don't think you could know who your children are. Don't think necessarily that there's this tremendous benefit, or even the availability, of for you to know who your child is if you don't know who you are, obviously. And that's a whole nother parsha. It's a little pashut. That's not simple, but all the Torah we're learning in our Beis Medrash here is working on that. You know, there is a sefer, this is called Da'at Yiladecha. There is a sefer called Da'at Atzmecha, also, know yourself. I don't know, maybe I feel like we should have done that one first, but I feel like our whole year, all the years we're learning here is all about, knowing yourself, Da'at Atzmecha. So the first thing that we spoke about was the need to have a mashpech, to have a funnel, to create a funnel between us and our children. What we want to give over to them, the way we want to give it over to them, the way that they can receive what we want to give over to them. We need every child, their being in this world demands of us to create a personalized, unique funnel that comes from our hearts, from our minds, from our beings, into our children. Praiseworthy are those that are able to understand that, to relate to that, and to create that even more. And through this funnel, everything all our dreams come through this. Now the type of love, and the funnel we'll get back to a little bit later. The type of love that we spoke about in the last few shiurim has to do with two types of love that we have for our children. One, we don't want to admit it, but one is pretty natural. One is called ahavah tiv'it. When a child shows up on the scene, when a kid shows up on the scene, when a baby shows up on the scene, there's an amazing amount of love. Aryeh Postin walked in with his 1 week old to Shachris today, not even 1 week old. This little baby in there, you couldn't even see it. It was covered in this one of these new, fancy baby carriages, right? You couldn't even see what was in there, but you knew that something that brings about a lot of love was in that little baby carriage. What did the child do? Besides be? Nothing. And yet, it arouses this amazing, incredible, immense ahavah tiv'it. Later on in life, when kids grow up and we get to know them better, what starts to unfold and unravel is something that's called ahavah mutenet, ahavah al tnai, love that's called conditional love. Now, it's not something we're proud of at times, but it's something that naturally, it's a very natural instinct to tap into this, to go into this world of like ahavah mutenet. Now, ahavah mutenet, conditional love, is something that we see between people trying to find their better half. When they're dating, that's what we're learning. When you're looking for your zivug, you don't have, if you have ahavah tiv'it, that's wonderful and it's beautiful. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything will shtim. I remember, as a dear friend of mine in Los Angeles, I said to him, how did you know? How did you know that she was yours? How did you know she was the one for you? How did you know? He said, I can't explain it, but when I saw her, all I wanted to do, this was like couples that are like 20 years older than me, and I was like a kid. I wanted to understand, how'd you know? He said, I don't know what it was, but when I saw her, all I wanted to do was just take care of her. So you don't bank on that. It's not like chinuch advice is like, okay, how do you know she's the one? When you go out with her, do you just want to take care of her? That's not how it works. If that happens, it's great. And if that's a tolada, if that is an offspring, if that's what is birthed out of the relationship, that's beautiful and that's incredible. But generally speaking, dating should be the most selfish experience you go through while you're looking for your zivug. Why? Because the rest of your life is selfless. But in order to make that choice to be selfless, you have to be selfish in terms of, is this good for me? Not, does this work for them? I think, how's it going? It's great. I think I'm great for them. Wow, really? Yeah. And for you, it's whatever. It's not so shy. No, that doesn't work. That's not. There's no ahavah. It's not holy. It's not humility. It's tipshus. It's stupidity. But that ahavah mutenet, the conditional love, that's a type of love we know of. We know that it exists. And sometimes that interferes with the way that we understand the love between parents and children. Ahavah mutenet was the last thing that we spoke about. But now we're speaking about another level of love, which we have to see if it's shaykh over here. And that is based on the love that is brought out in the Torah, a beautiful, beautiful relationship between Yaakov Avinu and Binyamin, and his son Binyamin, his youngest son. Now this is a third area of love that exists, that we have to put it on the table, because it'll play a very, very big role in our understanding of parenting. I'm going to share with you a quick story that I just saw to understand this. There's a big tzaddik, his name was Rabbi Nachum of Chernobyl, the Chernobyl Rebbe, the Ma'or Einayim. The Ma'or Einayim, Chernobyl, the Chernobyl Rebbe was a Talmid Chaver of the Baal Shem Tov, and he was by the Maggid of Mezrich. He was a big tzaddik. And one Shabbos, he had such a beautiful Shabbos with his Chassidim that came to travel with him. And on Motzei Shabbos, they bid farewell to each other. And the Rebbe was sitting there on Motzei Shabbos, and he was pretty tzibrochen. He was pretty sad, because they weren't there anymore with him. And while the Chassidim were traveling, they also started feeling a heartache in their heart. Like, we're not with our Rebbe anymore. It's horrible. And they started to turn back. They couldn't continue the journey back to wherever they had to get to. They journey back, they come back to the Rebbe, the Chernobyl Rebbe, and the Rebbe sees them and he realizes, wow, bnefsho kshura bnefsho, that each of their souls were connected to each other. That means there's love. Well, I'm not going to, let's see how the Mechaber now explains this third level of love, of bnefsho kshura bnefsho, and we're going to spend some time on this, because, not just to get a little bit raw. At one, and don't raise your hand, okay? This is like one of these questions I put out, but so I forget to say don't raise your hand, and then two people raise their hands and it gets really weird and awkward. So don't raise your hand for this, okay? But did you ever have were you ever embarrassed? Were you ever embarrassed, or were you ever shocked that you caught yourself needing your kid to love you in order to love them the way you want to? I'm going to say that, I'm going to repeat that question again. Did you ever catch yourself feeling this innate need for your child to express their love to you in order for your love for them to feel justified. Bnafsho, kshura bnafsho is going to open up a window for us to understand things about ourselves and about the way that the Torah speaks about proper love. And obviously everything here is in the context of healthy love between parents and children. So you see on the bottom of Daf Zayin, you see it? The bottom of Daf Zayin, Biram. Yeshno ofen shlishi shel ahavah toreh leiladav, kfi sheyivuar lefanenu. There is a third way where love is displayed between parents and children. Remember, the first level we spoke about was ahavat tiv'it. We referred to a child like chomer gelem. That was the wording, right? Chomer gelem. That was like raw material. There's nothing there yet. They bring out so much love. They grow up, you get to know them, certain things about them. I see myself in them. That could either freak the daylights out of me, or it can make me very proud. I don't know which one. It depends on where you're holding, right? That's called more ahavah mutenet, this conditional type of love. Now we're going to a third level. Al hayachas ben Yaakov le Binyamin ne'emar b'pasuk v'nafsho kshura b'nafsho. Klomar, nefesh Binyamin hayta kshura b'nefesh Yaakov, בנפש יעקב הייתה קשורה בנפש בנימין. דהיינו, אהבה דו-סטרית ולא חד-סטרית. דו-סטרית, what does that mean? דו-סטרי? What's that? Two-way approach, as opposed to חד-סטרי, a one-way. That's what we see. That's how he explains here this love that existed between Yaakov and Binyamin. בנפשו קשורה בנפשו. Just as a side note, where's the Beis HaMikdash? And whose chelik is the Beis HaMikdash? In Binyamin, nachon? There's something much bigger than just like a pasuk that says, oh, Yaakov loved Binyamin, Binyamin loved Yaakov. There's something going on over here. When the love is v'nafsho, kshura b'nafsho, that sets that's the setting for the holiest things in the world to be built. The holiest things in the world to be built, which is what we want. And it's not stam that later on in life, Binyamin's chelik, that's where the most incredible things happen. Alayachas, okay, so next paragraph. Ka'et nishal et atzmenu, now let's ask ourselves. Haim kesher nafshi kaze shayach lishnei sugei ha'ahavot shenimnu la'el, o shema zeu kesher misug shoneh lachalutin? Would you put this relationship between Yaakov and Binyamin in the first type of love we spoke about, or the second, or does it stand on its own? What do you think? After we've discussed the three different levels of love. What do you think? Does this go to ahavat tiv'it?
I think it's a different league.
Meaning? No. So you're saying no.
Either of the two.
So you're saying no. Me'achuz. Anybody else have another opinion? Mutar. We're very democratic here. No one, everyone agrees that everyone thinks this is something else? Okay, let's see how he says it. Hava nitbonen, let's take a deep look inside. כאשר אנו עוסקים באהבה טבעית של ההורים כלפי הרך הנולד. When we're dealing with natural love that parents have towards their newborn, example A, האם נוכל להגדירה כקשר נפשי של נפשו קשורה בנפשו? Is this... Sorry to put you... No, you're sitting right over here, it's fine. Right?
He paid me to come.
We talked, she's my neighbor. We spoke about this before this morning. Is this, can we define this, what's going on, can we define what's going on over here as a kesher of nafsho kshura b'nafsho? Ahavatu sitrit? So, as much as we would be amazing if we could right now x-ray the neshama of the Rach, right? Elisheva Liba, you can't. This is not nafsho kshura b'nafsho benatayim. Baruch shelo. Sharei ahavah zoi klepi chomer kimat golmi. There is a lot of love going on over here, but it's love for a very raw, the highest neshama, but a very, almost like raw material, chomer gelem, right? Vayeled eino chash baklal. So the child, as much as we want to say the child feels all the love and it's getting what it needs, but the type of love that we're speaking about in the Sefer is only very much on the level of like, sovev. It's not really namale. It's surrounding the kid v'chule, but the kid doesn't feel what the parent really would love to be able. I remember I used to do this with when my first two were born. So we had the first two, and they were there, just us chevra, for a few years. And I remember late at night, like they're looking at me, and they already started to understand certain things, and I'm speaking all these I'm saying to them all these deep poetic, dreams for them. And one time Bina just looked at me, and was like, just tell them you love him. Like just. It'd be great. It's an amazing thing. That's really what it. Be'emet in the beginning. That's where we're at. So it's as much as we can dream for there to be this back and forth at this age. Al ken hi chad sitrit bilvad, umimela lo shayach leagdir ahavah zo bivchinat nafsho kshura benafsho. Now this concept, nafsho kshura benafsho. This is going to play a big role in the development of this sefer and our understanding. Because nafsho kshura benafsho can be misinterpreted and abused. Because what is basically one of the dangers of aiming towards a relationship of nafsho kshura benafsho? What's one of the greatest dangers?
Favorite kid problem.
Oh, okay. Nachon. That could definitely arouse. That can definitely stem from it. What else? What are the other dangers that can be when it's misunderstood? Nafsho kshura benafsho. What's that?
Enmeshment, like losing your independence with other person. That everything is codependent.
That everything's codependent. Yachol yot ken. Nachon. What? Yeah.
What exactly does the phrase mean in English?
Their soul is embedded, is connected to their soul. But we're explaining that it's the love. It's two-way love.
If you don't feel it.
Sorry?
If you don't feel it.
What happens if you don't feel it? Like what happens if that is not there that morning, or that afternoon, or that 3:30 a.m.? What happens, right? What happens?
I think discipline becomes a difficulty also.
Yes.
Right? Because there's no line, there's no boundary.
Nachon. And kavim. There's no boundaries there, nachon. Now, what are the advantages? Not advantages, but what is the glory of a relationship of nafsho kshura benafsho? I want to just explain this a little bit. Nafsho kshura benafsho means different things for each child. Each child has a different level of nafsho kshura benafsho in their parents. Every kid, right? That which works for one kid, in terms of the displaying of love. I'm sure those of you that have a number of kids, some are mushier than others, yes? Or everyone's just the mushiest kid in the world, especially when they're a teenager. Mapitom, right? Each kid, at whatever age they're at, has different mushiness or different. Different sorry, but here we're speaking about display. We're speaking about how they express. One of our kids, I was saying, wow, there's amazing. She's just very shut off. She's not. She doesn't really display it as much as the others. And then one night we dropped her off at a sleepover, and the hug that she gave me before she right, that was, and she couldn't let go. That was like, talk about b'nafsho kshura b'nafsho. It came out of nowhere. A few years ago. And I realized that every kid, their way of displaying this inyan is very, very, very different and unique. And therefore, our need to define what real expression of children's love to their parents is a danger zone. We can't define this. We can't define for our child, what does it mean that you show Ima and Abba that you honor them or that you love them? This is their Sefer Torah. This is their thing. Mamash, a different ballgame. So now let's go deeper into this sugya. Ka'et nivdok et sug ahavah sheni sheuzkar. Let's look at this second level of love to compare it to what we had before. Ota ahavah shemegiah bishlav meuchar yoter kasher yeled mitbager. Now let's take a deeper look into that type of love that comes at a later stage in life, the love when the kid is growing up and getting older. שאהבת ההורים לילד נמדדת בהתאם לתכונותיו ולאופיו. Shem ha'ahavah zo mugderet kekesher nafshi. We're speaking of the type of love that parents have to their children, which is very much in line. It's a type of love that has to do much more with who is the child becoming? What are their chinuch nefesh? What are they displaying? This is the second level of love that we spoke about before. Is this considered a kesher nafshi? What do you think? And I'm going to put the question to you before we see what he says. Do you understand the question that he has here? Remember, there's two types of love we spoke about, ahavah tiv'it and ahavah mutenet. The natural love that we have for newborns, and then love that develops based on characteristic traits and who our kids are, what they look like, how they present themselves, what we see in them, what we don't see in them. That's how a different level of love becomes drawn up, b'chulei. So now the question is, he's saying, this third level of love, nafsho kshura b'nafsho, is that connected to the second level of love that we spoke about, which is called more conditional love?
Yeah, it's very problematic.
It can.
There's a lot of, this is a big machlokas in the room right now. This is mamish like 50-50. Mora Dvora, what do you think? You don't think so? No.
Because I think your child is like a part of you, and I don't think there has to be a condition. I mean, in my mind, it's not conditional, it's just different. It's like a different pathway.
Could be
It's like
subconscious.
Right.
in the Yam Suf, there were so many
Different.
different paths that each Shevet went down. So
Nachon.
it's the same thing, each Shevet is
Nachon.
like your child's Shevet.
So no. Okay. From the other side?
Combination.
It's a combination of
Start
what?
off with the first, and as you get to know your child, and as your child develops your personality, then you have more pathways, like Devorah said, but you always have that natural love for your child. I mean, how many times have we heard stories about people who have done horrific things, and the parent's like, I don't agree with what they did, but it's still my child.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a love there. So I think it's shiur.
So you're saying that level is v'nafsho kshura b'nafsho. Yeah.
Yeah, shiur.
A shiluv of the two. It's interesting. I was thinking about this when they caught the murderer of Charlie Kirk. So the father was the one that turned in his son, right?
But maybe he was doing the right thing for him, not because he didn't love him.
100%. 100%. Tzarich iyun. It's a very interesting thing. Nachon. Like, this came, I mean, not to bring it to, this is going to get very sensitive right now, but, you know, this was brought up a lot right now with the struggle of the families of the hostages. That there was a big machloket between the families themselves as to what the right approach is to move forward, right? So there is this father, his name is Tzvika Mo, the father of Eitan Mor. There is this mother, Gibora, Ditza Or, the mother of Avinatan. And we also have a very, very loving mother called Einav Tzenkauger, right? Now, so say this, so without getting involved in like what kind of base medrash they each come from, right? Some really interesting things came up about, like, in terms of like, what is real love? What is real love bichlal, and what's real love for your child, right? And everyone was sure that once Eitan Mor would come out of Shevi, and he'd find out that his parents were pushing, right, for the continuation of fighting, because they felt like Am Yisrael is bigger than just their child. And he was asked this again last night, that would, and so the kid would come out of the Shevi and he'd hear, oh my God, my parents were willing to sacrifice me for the sake of a bigger picture of hopefully a victory over the enemy. So the kid came out very good. Akol beseder. Even meaning not very, he still has a long shikum, but from what we've learned so far, and he knows now, then they didn't know. He knows now that there's room to understand that b'nafsho kshura b'nafsho can mean much more than just me, you as an individual, but to look at each other that we're part of a bigger picture as well. But, in my humble opinion, anyone that has a bikoret has any critique on the other side of Chevra that held it differently, doing whatever they could to save their child, shouldn't open their mouth. Like, bichlal, anyone that's not in this parsha should not open their mouth at all. We're bringing these nikudos out to just understand what is this concept of b'nafsho kshura b'nafsho. B'nafsho kshura b'nafsho doesn't only necessarily mean I will do anything for you and the whole world could go to heck, right? That's not what I don't think that's what it means either. If we're talking about the kesher of nefesh, of neshamas, we're part of a bigger picture. We're part of a bigger picture called Nishmas Klal Yisrael. And sometimes I have to look at my child through the eyes of Klal Yisrael as well, and not just like, what's the best thing for them right now in this moment? And I think that these things that have been happening around us right now have a lot of limudim in all areas of life, but we saw parents approach the most difficult situation in the world very differently. And it's a big test for us, Am Yisrael, right now, to keep our vision, like to mamash, step aside. Baruch Hashem, I don't think Chevra got too involved in this machloket. We understand. Every parent's doing exactly what they feel, what they felt they had to do for their children. But for us, we need to extract this to try to understand what types of love are we speaking about, especially when it comes to b'nafsho kshura b'nafsho. Because I'll tell you something. A father like Tzvika Mor, and a mother like Ditza Or, these are people that are very much connected to Nishmas Klal Yisrael. They are. Okay, let's go back inside. There's a lot more to say on this, but let's go back inside. Third paragraph. Nitbonen badavar. Let's look deeper inside. Nitbonen badavar. Kasher, Alex, do you want to bring a chair to here, to right here? There's a chair right here. There's a chair. Yeah. A chair right here. Nitbonen badavar. Kasher adam ohev tmuna machmat yofia. When you have a piece of art that you love because it's beautiful, או לחילופין, כאשר אדם מחבב דברים שונים בבריאה מכיוון שהם מוצאים חן בעיניו. There are things in creation that simply catch your eye and you like it. האם זהו קשר נפשי של בנפשו קשורה בנפשו? כמובן שלא. As much as you want to say that certain things are, that's not a נפשו קשורה בנפשו. It's something that you like for whatever the reasons are. נמצאנו למדים שהאהבה אינה מותנית בהכרח בקשר נפשי גלוי בין שני הצדדים. For you, like the picture does not have to love you back in order to love a picture, right? The Swiss Alps don't have to love you back to love the Swiss Alps. נכון? Butterflies, I'm sure like there's a whole liberal movement today trying to prove that butterflies have all the feelings of butterflies as well, but as much as we know, butterflies do not exactly cherish fond feelings of love and closeness to the one that looks and is amazed by butterflies in the bria, right? ומעתה ברור הדבר שכשם שאהבת תמונה מרהיבה, בית מפואר, אינה אהבה דו-סטרית, וכולה מבססת על צד אחד בלבד. This is all one-way love, right? Ahavah chad sitrit. All these types of loves we mentioned before are one-way. Im ken, hen ahavah tiv'it l'rach hanolad. Both the natural love we have for newborns, vehen ahavah layeled machyat ofyo hachaviv shel hayeled, and the liking you have towards a kid that has a great personality, hina ahavah chad sitrit. These both levels of love we spoke about before are both one-way avenues of love. Both of them are one-way avenues of love. And this is important for us to clarify because maybe we thought that the second level of love, of ahavah mutenet, is a two-way meeting. It's not. It's still a one-way. It's still a place that comes from the parent towards the child when they're a newborn, obviously. When they get older, and there's all these different things we see in the child that brings out more love, it's still us to them. And then sometimes we're shocked. You don't see how much mommy does for you? You don't see how much ahavah this, and the kid in his church neshama is saying, no one asked you to bring me here, so I'm not sure exactly what you're waiting for. Like, I don't know what you're expecting exactly, but this was, I mean, said that you're going to tell me now, what do you mean? We heard you say once that children choose their parents, and say that, nachon, on a deep Kabbalistic level. But inside, in the heart of that teenager, or that 30-year-old, or the 40-year-old, there's that voice that says, no one put a gun to your head and said, bring me here. So all this love you're feeling from me, v'chule, it's amazing and it's great, I'm happy for you. But the fact that I'm not feeling it right now, so he's saying over here, nachon, the first two loves of ahavah tiv'it and ahavah mutenet are one-way loves. None of you know what I'm talking about?
I think it's also not connected necessarily to the good nature of the child, necessarily.
Love dafka.
Because dafka, the child could even be acting out for whatever reason, and we still have that activity.
We don't have it the way we have it when you're holding a newborn.
No, but
It changes. It changes, but that becomes more ahavah mutenet. Ahavah tiv'it is hopefully always there. Hopefully somewhere there. Just when they're younger and they don't talk back, it's more bagalui. It's much more easy. It's revealed. It's like, this is everything. This defines me as a parent. You know, we have this also with marriages, Shana Rishona. Right? I had a good friend that said they're married now, I don't know, probably like 25 years, 26 years. And they're really like an awesome couple that they got married before most of our chevra my age. And I asked them, I said, and then I saw them like after they had 2 kids. I didn't see them for a few years, but I remember them during their Shana Rishona. I said, wow, what's life like? He's like, man, my wife and I thought we looked at each other after Shana Rishona before we had children, and we looked and we're like, why did everyone tell us about all these, the hardships and everything that comes? And we could write a book on not on parenting because I didn't have a kid yet, but on soulmates, on marriages, right? And then I said, well, what happened? He said, then we had children. Then we had children, then we had kids. So obviously when a kid is like this age, whatever, this is not number 1 or 2 or 3 of her, or 4 or 5 or 6. So, but every kid has that, hopefully, that it's a kovesh chelek ma'alev shel haorim. It does conquer a certain area of the parent's heart, of ahavah tiv'it that should last forever, and it is there forever on a certain level. Nachon, it is there. But we deal and interact more with ahavah mutenet as they get older. But bnefsho kshura bnefsho is the point so far of this sefer. Bnefsho kshura bnefsho. This is a different world, what we're entering into. Ma'u imken gidro u'ma'uto shel kesher nafshi. So let's understand. What is the parameters? What's the essence of a kesher nafshi? Bless you. כאשר הקשר בנוי על אהבה דו-סטרית, ושני הצדדים משתפים פעולה לבניית הקשר, זהו קשר נפשי. Okay, so this is very important. When the connection is built on a two-way love, and both sides are participating in building that kesher, that's a kesher nafshi. Before we go ahead, let me ask you, is there any room for a parent to have an expectation for this type of kesher with their children? No. Anyone want to say yes?
It would be nice.
It would be, a lot of things would be nice. It would be beautiful.
I think you're obligated to try.
You're obligated to try what?
Like, for example, like shiur, to teach them the halachot, to teach them what's the right derech, and you're obligated to teach them those mitzvot. And if they don't do them, you don't say you don't love them, but you remind them that this is an opportunity.
Very good, Jenny, what you're saying. Very, very good. In the world, there's a thing called now patient parenting. Have you heard of this? Gentle. Gentle parenting? What do you have? What's your vort on it? What's your 10-second vort on it? Because I have a 10-hour vort on it. Yesh po ba'aya. Yesh po ba'aya. I was recently exposed to it. the world has come now in the world without Torah, just world, they've come to a place where they say, things haven't really worked that well for the last, I don't know how long. Let's try this, right? Now this world is basically one where it's void, honestly, it's void of any straightforward chinuch, actually, if I had to put it in a nutshell. Our mahalach of life, of parenting, is the same mahalach of, like with zivug, or like with health, or with anything. It's Torah-based. And we have a world of chinuch, of Torah, that we have to teach our children. We have to give it over to them. We have to teach them what are the basic things that Hashem had in store for you as a child. Now, we have to daven so strong. And this is something we have to daven to Hashem every day as parents. Hashem, please let us be sweet and feel-good representers of what your word of Torah is. Because I could come to a child and say, God told you that when I walk into a room, you stand up. Atzlacha Rabba. Or I could say, do you want to learn like a bunch of different things? And one of them is like some laws on Shabbat. One of them is some laws about, I don't know, kosher. Oh, by the way, this also falls under the category of things that Hashem tells us to do. And there's laws of kibud avayim. And let me tell you how I'm working on it with my parents, whether they're alive or not alive. To show them, to bring them into the paradigm, to bring them into the hemshechiyut of, this is it's a much bigger picture than just you right now and me. This is part of what makes us who we are. This is a big, big picture. So therefore, Kesher Nafshi is something much bigger than what we understand than just feeling a soul connection to each other. Yes, Eva?
I feel like we're not having an expectation of our kids that they're like developing and like working on building a relationship with us like we are with them, but we're doing them a disservice though if we're not having that expectation. Like the family unit is their first opportunity and like the first place where they're learning how to navigate relationships and how to show love and how to receive love, and when things don't go well, how to manage that.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not, I don't know if we're saying like we can't have that expectation if there's going to be this, maybe not to the level of ahavah nafshi, but that it would be dude study, like aren't we doing them a disservice by not like modeling that behavior and expecting that they would have a response back that creates connection and works through things?
Yes, it's a disservice. Yeah.
So then I guess I'm saying I don't think that we shouldn't have that expectation.
That is what you're saying. I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I think that is what you're saying. Correct. But we have to understand what the This is what's tricky here. We must understand what the expectation is towards. For them to expect them to feel the love that we have for them, the way that we feel it for them, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But wait, sorry, not even. And when they're parents, they'll feel it in their way. Yeah, but I'm saying the way that we feel it, to expect for them to feel not just what we feel and the way we feel it, no way.
That's impossible.
But it comes with the
It's impossible, but you'd be shocked as to how often people fall into this without even realizing it. Why? So you'll start to go into sugyas of, because they still have mommy issues or whatever. This is not new stuff. This is stuff that people have been carrying with them, not just in this lifetime, in previous lifetimes for years and years and years. These are big inyanim. But in order for us to even speak about expectations and non-expectations towards what? Kesher Nafshi. What does that mean? And that's what we have to define. Because it would be a disservice, and I agree with you, it would be a disservice to say, don't force anything and they'll figure things, just give them what's that? Can give them the framework and hopefully without too much, right? I'm not going to get too involved and they'll figure. No, there's a gamkin, and it is, and I agree with you, Mamash, and the way you said it struck me very deep. This is the family unit. Ideally, should be that most interesting and safest place for the beginning of malachim du-sitrim, of the two ways to begin to develop in a healthy way. Yeah.
Isn't our goal to have an invitation without an expectation? That by modeling that behavior in our avoda with our own parents, we're laying out the framework of what the invitation is, and we let go of the expectation of a specific result. Because any expectation that you would have would limit how they're going to be expressing.
The problem is what happens when you're too nervous to lay out an invitation.
No, that's a problem.
That bidiyuk, and I think that's what we're going to be speaking about. Nachon. So these are very important things. Yeah.
A monkey wrench. I have it times 4. I don't know how I got it. I have an amazing nafsho, kashura nafsho with each of my kids. I don't know how I got it.
We could dissect it.
In other words, there may be a lot of rules in here that he's going to teach us.
He's not teaching rules. He's not
Okay.
teaching. There's no rules here. This book, this sefer is not rule. It's a sefer of making us think, of making us daven, of making us look at things deeper.
Okay.
Yeah.
But aren't the parents themselves their children, right? And they're also reacting to what they have also experienced in either direction, and then sort of give off the opposite sometimes, or the same, right? So either way, I don't even know if the parent has a free will to be able to get to that level if they haven't seen the model of that level.
Then basically what you're saying is that in certain instances, Hashem made a mistake.
No, I would never think that.
You'd never say that, but
It's still learned behavior in a certain way if you haven't received it yourself.
Nachon. Even if you have received it yourself, because your child brings out different things in you that you wasn't like with your parent. Nachon. But we have to come from the place of Hashem didn't make any mistakes in terms of giving us the children that we have. We can't look at it like that. And of course, we always say, at a certain point in our young parenting career, we go through that midlife crisis of, I can't believe my parents didn't give me this or gave me that. And we swear we are never going to make the same mistakes our parents made with us, with our children, and we don't. We just make completely new mistakes. And that's going to be, and I'm not saying it's fine, it's just that's the way it is. Yeah.
I was going to say that it's also, I think, very important that a parent knows that even though they experience love in a certain way and they want to send that off to someone else, it doesn't mean that the other person's going to get it. Like, they have to be very, very in tune with each child and how the child experiences love, and to teach the child maybe the best thing they could do is teach the child how to communicate, so that if they can then
course.
express.
And you know what? It's not just with children. Like, for instance,
anyone,
children.
sure.
No. Saying it's not with children that, there's children that obviously many children have autism. So their way of receiving what you want to give them may be received, just this doesn't look to us like it's being received the way, right? Every child here has its own parsha, but the way that this b'nafsho, kshura b'nafsho develops has to be nurtured. It has to be really, you have to be very delicate and sensitive about it, because it's much bigger than just, do you feel what I'm feeling and we feel the same thing and all that. Ma pitom. And yeah, there will be, Baruch Hashem, Mindy, I'm so happy to hear what you're saying. That's a dream of every parent. Not every parent has what you just said.
But I can't account for it. It's so
Beseder,
much of mine. That
I know that's what you feel, but I'm saying that is a very non-given. But it is so worthwhile doing whatever we can to discover the path towards the place that you're speaking about. It's the most worthwhile avoda a parent can do in this world. It's the most worthwhile avoda. I mean, Ladas Yad Dishmaya and Ezer from Shemayim. Let's just do 2 more paragraphs. כאשר נרצה להעניק את החינוך המושלם, you see the second to bottom paragraph? כאשר נרצה להעניק את החינוך המושלם לילדינו, אנו זקוקים לאהבה מסוג אחר. האהבה מבוססת על קשר נפשי דו-סטרי בבחינת נפשו קשורה בנפשו. When we want to give over the perfect chinuch to our children, we do need a certain type of love from a different, it's something else. Love that's based on the Kesher Nafshi, on this two-way meeting each other. בבחינת נפשו קשורה בנפשו. כשם שההורה אוהב את הילד, כך הילד אוהב את ההורה. דבר שבמציאות אינו קיים בכל המקרים, ולפעמים אהבת ההורים הינה כמעט חד סטרית בלבד. עם זאת, he acknowledges, he says sometimes that's not, it's a great aspiration to have, but quite often it happens that you have to spend years of a non-kesher nafshi, the way that he's explaining it over here, and that's the avodah. Even though you feel like lo megia li, megia li kesher nafshi. You deserve. And I just want to say, like, anyone that's holding in the world of megia li, regarding anything that has to do with their children, has still not really tasted anything that has to do with this avodah called the greatest matnas chinam in the world. You don't go into you can never walk into your child's room and feel like, I suffered enough in life, I went through enough, I understand why I deserve to have this healthy child. Every single child, Stephen said it so beautifully, right before he got the Aliyah on Kol HaNa'arim. He said something so amazing. It was an amazing moment. We had such a Simchas Torah here. I still can't believe what happened over here. I can't believe it. And Stephen got Kol HaNa'arim, Dr. Eagle. And right before he got his Aliyah, he was screaming to the kids, "Shut up!" No, I'm kidding. He was basically saying, he was screaming to each kid, "You are each a miracle." That's what he screamed to every kid. Each of you are miracles. Each of you are miracles. And then Kol HaNa'arim, and then Baruch Hashem Baruch. It was such a moment. So, if every child is a miracle, to then have demands and expectations on miracles, that's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's a miracle. You're going to come with demands and expectations on nisim? No, but so we forgot that we're also miracles. So it's like they're miracles and we're just, not. It's complicated. It's a kasher. But here he says that even though we know that obviously, ideally, the goal would be b'nafsho kshura b'nafsho, sometimes it takes a very, very long time for the love affair to stop being chad sitri, for it to be one way. Im zot, yesh lehadgish, we have to emphasize, she'ineno sholelim chas v'sholem et hanechitzut shel ahavah הטבעית החד סטרית מצד ההורים כלפי הילד. Even though nafsho kshura b'nafsho is definitely the goal, eventually, like we'll see, we still are not sholelim, we're not revoking, we're not removing the necessity of ahavah chad sitrit, of one-way love. ואדרבה, האהבה זו שהקדוש ברוך הוא הטביע בנו כהורים, היא בסיסית ומוכרחת. This love that God embedded within us as parents is basic and is a must. Like, it doesn't matter how tired you are right now, or if your back's hurting you or not, there's so much love that Hashem placed in you as a mama to a newborn that's there. Our goal in life isn't to be like, I can't wait till I'm done with this, and then it's like, ma pitom. This is essential. Who put it in us? This is the teva of the bria. Hashem did. Hashem did. Ve'rak be'emtzauta, it's only through this first level of love, ahavat tiv'it, adam yachol letapel be'iladav kedebai be'gil hayankut. That's the only way that you could properly take care of your children when they are this age, right, as babies. Ulam. האהבה בה אנו עוסקים הינה נוספת על האהבה החד סטרית הבסיסית שקיימת אצל כל הורה לילדיו. He's saying the love that we're speaking about here in the world of chinuch that we're going to embark on over here, it's going to take us to a deeper understanding of the pasuk b'nafsho kshura b'nafsho, what was happening between Yaakov and Binyamin, like he always does when it's not just parent theory here, it's not just education theory. Everything is through Mamarei Chazal. And the way that he's going to show us this will lead us all towards a path that shows us that bnafsho, kshura bnafsho, sometimes it seems so far. Not at this age. I'm saying when the kid is 15, when the kid is 10, when the kid's 20. It seems so far. But it's an amazing journey that's so worthwhile putting all of our kochot in, because essentially it'll show us also, it'll mirror. What is it going to mirror? What relationship will this mirror? This nafsho kshura b'nafsho? Yaakov and, but mirroring, obviously. And we have to stay away from, a lot of different things that are going to come in our way and try to remove us from this, the lo nachon. So next week, it's going to be a much deeper dive into the parameters, the healthy way of understanding how do you build a relationship of bnafsho kshura bnafsho. Because even though your child may look like that's not what they're interested in, that's what they're interested in more than anything. More than anything.
I see it.
It seems, one second. It seems that the kid is more and more interested, and most of the time in life, in ahavah chad sitri. Like, that's just the big, because we're with them for years in terms of needs. It's needs. It's a lot of needs. There's needs going on, and take care of this, take care of that. I say, are you kidding me? Do you know how tired I am? Or do you know what I've done for you? And yet, these things don't play a role. But really, what a child wants is that. Now, Tal, just to address what you said, if that's a supplement for the parents, it's the most dangerous thing in the world. What you just said. If it's a supplement, like to receive that from grandparents that don't have a chinuch to take care of you like your parents do, and also aren't going to because they don't, unless you're like Tom, alav hashalom, who was able to do that for his grandchildren, which is a whole story on its own, and parents necessarily weren't in the picture, it can't be a supplement, meaning it's true, a grandparent can just, it's a bnafsho kshura b'nafsho, but Yaakov and Binyamin were father and son.
Right.
They weren't grandparents.
It's not a supplement, but I just see this nafsho b'nafsho because it's a whole different relationship. The love and the connection between a grandparent and a grandchild comes faster.
Of course, hopefully,
parent.
it does, but there's no avoda involved in that. And therefore, there's nothing else we could learn from that. And you got a Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel going on over here right now. So I don't even want to get involved with it. And I am not getting involved. I'm not a grandparent, so I don't have anything to say about these things. I don't have anything to say. But we'll leave that for another time, Bezrat Hashem, okay? Shekoyach, everybody.